I was a marine biologist studying the largest life forms on Earth. The oceans are filled with leviathans of the deep. What started it all happened in early 2019 when the first mutilated dead whale washed up on shore. The happening was not very uncommon. The occasional dead whale would wash up on shore once in a while. But the whale carcass, or what was left of the carcass that washed up in 2019, was different, and much, much more disturbing. The whale was huge. A humpback whale, but that was just one of the species that the scientists suggested it could have been. On a sunny evening in the middle of July, I was walking down the shore when I stumbled upon the carcass. It was massive. But you want to know the disturbing part? Only the lower half of the whale washed up on shore. Only the tail and back fins flimsily hanging onto the gruesome lower half of the body. The entire lower half of the body was scarred and wounded. Only the pale colors of the carcass allowed me to identify the creature as a whale. It looked as if something took a huge bite out of the whale. For starters, a huge section of the carcass was ripped out. Gigantic scratch marks covered the rotting skin of the whale. After discovering the whale, I took a picture of the whale and I called 911. They came, covered the carcass with a tarp, and they sent it to some researchers over in Washington. And oh boy, that was only the beginning. A local fisherman, whose name was Travis, was on his boat fishing for tuna offshore. He recalls that while he was reeling in a huge yellowtail tuna fish, he spotted something moving beneath the surface of the water. At first, it looked like a shark fin, but the shark fin was black, and it was ridged, bony. And that was when Travis realized that the shark fin wasn't a shark fin. It was a spike. At the same moment, Travis looked down at the water and all he saw was darkness. Not darkness, as in the water had turned black. Darkness as in something in the water was blocking the sunlight from entering the water. Something huge, absolutely enormous, was swimming under Travis's boat. Travis said that the previously thought shark fin immediately disappeared underwater. And after a few seconds, the shark fin spike reappeared along with hundreds of other spiked fins, all moving in alignment. The thing under Travis's boat looked to be 900 meters long. It stretched out into the distance. He couldn't see the head or the tail of the creature. The previously thought shark fins looked to be attached to whatever was moving under his boat, moving along with the creature beneath the boat. After 5 terrifying minutes, the tail of the creature could be seen from a distance. And it was, based on Travis's account, terrifying. The tail alone looked to be around 100 meters long. It was ridged and bony, prehistoric looking and algae covered. Travis stayed on his boat until the creature left. He drove back to shore, and the only time he told anyone was when he was extremely drunk at a bar. A few days later, 5 more mangled and attacked whale corpses washed up on shore. This, however, was not dismissed and taken so easily by the community. The dead whales attracted huge crowds, and eventually, the town council was pressured into digging deeper and finding answers. Eventually, the police and community cleanup crew arrived at the scene. Due to the carcass's enormous size, they had to be destroyed with explosive devices and chainsaws. Not too pleasant. If you'd ask me, the beach was turned completely red for a few weeks. Over a few weeks after that, deep-sea fishermen and sailors reported seeing an enormous shape beneath the water. So huge, so massive, that they couldn't see the end of it. More horribly mangled dead whales, and sometimes even great white sharks, kept washing up onto the shore again. And more people saw the enormous and unknown creature far offshore. And as stupid and cliché as it sounds, more and more people wanted answers. And them being the stupid rednecks they are, they wouldn't give up. The community pressured the city council to send a submersible down into the ocean to investigate. And after a month, when strangely there was no more strange activity, that's what they did. The city council hired a team who could operate a submersible, and they sent them down in the general direction of where the creature was last seen. Most people expected the submersible and its crew to discover some giant and undiscovered creature, and they were only half wrong. They did discover the creature. It lay at the bottom of the seafloor, its true enormity being revealed. The crew of the submersible said that the creature looked like a 900-meter-long mosasaur. Only, the creature's skin was plated with black scales, covering its entire body. Its tail was exactly how Travis described it. Bony and ridged, fin-like spikes lining the top surface of the tail. But they couldn't completely confirm if the creature was a giant mosasaur because it had no head. Something else had killed the giant creature. Something much, much bigger. I feel like I should say the bulk of this town's population is made up of saltwater fishermen and recreational hunters. So both those activities are a huge factor in this town's economy. Cryptozoology is also a big factor here. This town is where the world likes to dump its weird shit. Aka, the town equivalent of Skinwalker Ranch. Lots of weird shit goes on around here. UFO sightings, unknown creature attacks, demon summoning rituals, unexplained disappearances, you name it all. However, there is one slight aspect that sets this town apart from others. There is an abundance of strange agents who belong to a vague organization. Other than that, it's your run-of-the-mill, small town on the shoreline. If I forgot to mention I'm a marine biologist, I'll say it now. I'm a marine biologist, and my career is one of the reasons I decided to move into my seaside town. By the way, my name is Roger Rogers. It's a weird name. I know. The job isn't as exciting as I imagined. I didn't always go into submersibles. Exploring the deep blue sea, my job mainly consisted of staring at some dead fish for a couple of hours, and then writing some study notes. And since I was a marine biologist, I decided to go look and investigate the matter of the dead Leviathan. Now keep in mind this thing was fucking huge. Extremely large. The local government covered up the findings by saying the submersible team discovered an extremely rare communal pack of great white sharks and that they were responsible for all the dead whales. Eventually, I found a guy with a submersible to take me to the location. So the plan was, go to the location of the dead creature, examine it, and assume what beast could have killed the mosasaur-like creature that lay dead in the murky depths of the inhospitable ocean it once called home. So on one Friday afternoon, I found myself boarding a 3-person submersible, along with my driver, Benjamin. Ben was skinny and short, had curly brown hair, and light skin, adjusting to the cramped space the submersible offered. I sat down and introduced myself to Ben, for I did not know his name at the time. Ben flipped several switches, pulled a black lever and some other stuff I couldn't recognize, and the submersible slowly descended into the blue water, the light slowly disappearing as we went deeper. I feel I should say that the feeling of going underwater, even though the safety of a submarine, is amazing. The feeling is mesmerizing. It's as if you've entered a portal to a whole new world, a completely different environment. Dozens of tiny fish darted away from the submersible's porthole, as larger animals, like sharks, came into view. We ended up going to a location far away from the shore, where the carcass of the Leviathan was located. When the people who hired me told me how big the creature was, I knew it was big, but up close, it was enormous. Even bigger than I would have ever imagined. The rotting carcass that was once a great beast sat on the bottom, covering a large amount of distance with its dead body. I nodded. Let's get started. Can you move the submarine at an angle where I can see the sliced neck? Already on it. The submersible turned and moved a little to the left, and I could see the stump where the creature's head had once been. It was a clean cut. Not much gore. Most of the blood and guts were being swarmed by hungry scavengers and sharks. A true feeding frenzy. From what I could tell, the animal that killed the Leviathan must have been territorial. Not hungry, since not much of the mosasaur-like creature was eaten, only the head. And judging from the circular and aligned marks and wounds on the skin of the Leviathan's carcass, the animal that killed the Leviathan must have been territorial. Not hungry, since not much of the mosasaur-like creature was eaten, only the head. And judging from the circular and aligned marks on the skin of the Leviathan's carcass, the animal that killed the Leviathan must have had tentacles. That put an immediate thought into my head. Squid. A huge, oversized, monster squid must have killed the Leviathan. Of course, this theory was not a very reliable one, but still, the best I could come up with. But something didn't add up. The Leviathan had bite marks engraved into its skin. Huge, deep bite marks. Squid, octopus, and any kind of cephalopod had beaks. But they didn't have mouths or teeth. So what had hooked tentacles and razor-sharp, flesh-ripping teeth? Nothing. At least, nothing scientifically. Ben waved his hand in front of my face and grinned. "Hey, Roger. You zoned out for a bit." I shook my head. "No. I was just thinking. Whatever did this was territorial. It killed the Leviathan because it was in its territory, not because of hunger. And whatever killed the Leviathan had hooked tentacles.